Welcome back to the channel, Rare Coins History, Treasure Hunters and Coin Lovers. Today, we are diving into the incredible story of one of America's most iconic coins, the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1961. At first glance, it might just look like an ordinary copper coin, the kind you might still find jingling at the bottom of your pocket or tucked away in an old coin jar. But as we all know, appearances can be deceiving, and within this small piece of metal lies a fascinating history, striking design details, and in some cases, a surprising level of value that makes collectors all over the world keep their eyes peeled for it. So sit back, relax, and let's go on this numismatic journey together. The Lincoln cent has been an American staple since 1909 when it was first introduced to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. This was also the very first U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real historical figure rather than symbolic designs. By 1961, the coin had already been in circulation for over 50 years, and it was still capturing the spirit of the nation. These pennies were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, and that little mint mark, whether it's a small D for Denver or no mint mark at all for Philadelphia, can make a big difference when it comes to collector interest. Now let's talk about the era. The early 1960s was a fascinating time in American history. The nation was experiencing post-war prosperity, the space race was heating up, and people were filled with optimism about the future. The coins minted during this time were widely used in everyday commerce, passed from hand to hand in grocery stores, diners, gas stations, and movie theaters. Millions were struck, yet very few were preserved in pristine condition. That's where the rarity comes into play, because while a worn-down penny might only be worth its face value, a well-preserved, uncirculated coin from this year could be worth a small fortune today. The design of the Lincoln cent in 1961 carried forward Victor David Brenner's original portrait of President Lincoln, a side profile that has become one of the most enduring and recognizable images in American coinage. On the reverse side, we see the classic wheat ears design had already been replaced by the Lincoln Memorial, which was introduced in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. That means the 1961 penny features the Lincoln Memorial reverse, an iconic structure that also hides a fascinating detail. If you look very closely, you can actually see a tiny representation of the statue of Lincoln seated inside. That subtle but intricate detail is one of the reasons collectors admire this design so much. Collectors and coin enthusiasts pay special attention to mint marks and striking quality. The Denver Mint in 1961 produced a massive number of pennies, but variations in strike sharpness, die errors, and overall condition make some coins stand out. Double die obverse errors, for example, where the lettering or date appears slightly doubled, are among the most sought-after mistakes. These errors happen when the die used to strike the coin shifts or misaligns during the minting process, and while most coins are uniform, the rare ones with errors become treasures. Imagine owning a piece of history where a minting mistake has turned it into a one-of-a-kind artifact. Condition is everything in the coin world. Circulated coins often show wear, with Lincoln's cheek and jawline smoothed out from years of use. But if you find a 1961 penny with crisp details, sharp lines, and original luster, you may have something special. Coins that have been carefully stored in protective holders, never exposed to the wear and tear of daily use, are the ones that fetch the highest premiums at auctions. Collectors are willing to pay staggering amounts for coins in mint state, especially if they come with rare features like proof strikes or errors. Another layer of interest comes from the proof version struck in 1961 at the Philadelphia Mint. These proof coins were specially made for collectors, struck multiple times to ensure mirror-like surfaces and sharp details. While proofs are generally more common in numismatic collections, pristine examples from this year can still attract strong bids. But when it comes to regular business strike pennies, finding one in top condition with a desirable error or a strong grade is like striking gold. Now let's imagine for a moment, you're sifting through a box of old coins inherited from a relative, or maybe you're simply checking your change out of habit, and suddenly you notice the date 1961 staring back at you. At first, it feels like just another old penny, but then you look closer and see a mint mark, a unique error, or realize the coin is in near-perfect condition. That's when the excitement kicks in. because you might just be holding a coin that could change your financial future. These stories are not just about money, though. Every coin tells us something about the culture and history of its time. The 1961 Lincoln penny speaks to a period of American confidence and progress, a coin that connected millions of people in their everyday lives, yet today stands as a potential collector's prize. That dual identity, ordinary yet extraordinary, is what makes coin collecting so fascinating. And now, the part you've been waiting for, the value. While most circulated 1961 Lincoln cents are worth only a few cents to collectors, the rarest examples, those in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially with unique minting errors, have been known to fetch jaw-dropping prices at auction. One particular coin has been valued at an astonishing $90,000, yes, $90,000 for a single 1961 Lincoln penny. Imagine the excitement of discovering such a treasure hidden among ordinary change. It's a reminder to always keep your eyes open, because history and fortune sometimes hide in the smallest of places. Today, we are going to uncover the fascinating story of the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1971. Now, most people think of pennies as just small change, tossed into a jar or left forgotten in drawers. But what if I told you that a simple penny from 1971 could be hiding an incredible secret, one that has collectors buzzing and auction houses raising their paddles? This tiny coin, minted over half a century ago, may carry a value so surprising that it could turn an ordinary find into a life-changing discovery. Stay tuned, because we are going to explore the history, design, errors, and hidden treasures of the 1971 Lincoln penny. The year 1971 was a remarkable time in American history. The country was in the midst of cultural change, technology was advancing rapidly, and even the world of money was shifting. Pennies minted during this time were struck both in Philadelphia and in Denver, with the D mint mark distinguishing those from Denver. While millions upon millions of these coins were produced, the real story lies in their quality, their unique errors, and their condition. Though common at first glance, the rarest among them have become incredibly valuable. The Lincoln cent itself has been an American icon since 1909, when it was first introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. By 1971, the design featured Lincoln's bust on the obverse, created by Victor David Brenner, one of the most recognized images in American coinage. On the reverse side, the coin displayed the Lincoln Memorial, which replaced the wheat ears design back in 1959. What makes the Lincoln Memorial reverse so fascinating is that if you look closely, you can actually see a tiny depiction of the statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. It's a little detail that many overlook, but collectors love to point it out as a sign of the artistry behind the design. Now, the real magic of the 1971 penny lies not just in its history or design, but in its potential rarity. Most pennies from this year circulated heavily, passing through countless hands in shops, diners, gas stations, and schools. As a result, many of them are worn down, scratched, and lacking the original mint luster. However, those rare examples that were preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition are what collectors dream about. Condition is everything in numismatics, and the sharpness of details, the shine of the surface, and the absence of wear can transform an ordinary penny into a highly valuable treasure. But beyond condition, the real treasures of the 1971 Lincoln penny are found in its errors. Some of the most sought-after errors from this year include double die obverse strikes, where the lettering, numbers, or even Lincoln's features appear doubled due to a shift in the die during the minting process. These double dies are incredibly popular with collectors because they are rare and visually striking. A penny with a clear double date or Liberty inscription can command attention and serious money at auctions. There are also known cases of off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other minting irregularities from this year that make certain coins one-of-a-kind. Another factor that boosts the value of the 1971 Lincoln penny is its mint mark. Pennies with the D mint mark from Denver are more common, but coins from Philadelphia, which carry no mint mark, also have unique varieties and are collected widely. However, in both cases, it is the grade of the coin, how well it has been preserved, that ultimately determines its true worth. Coins graded at higher mint states, especially MS 65 and above, are far scarcer than circulated examples and therefore command premiums from serious collectors. Imagine for a moment finding a 1971 Lincoln penny tucked away in a coin album, or perhaps hidden in a jar of change that's been sitting in your attic for decades. At first, it may look like just another old coin, but upon closer inspection, you notice its sharp details, its beautiful luster, or maybe even a doubling error that sets it apart. Suddenly, what once seemed ordinary becomes extraordinary, potential treasure worth thousands upon thousands of dollars. Every coin has a story, and the 1971 Lincoln penny is no different. It carries the story of America in the early 1970s, a time of transition and cultural shifts. It represents not just a means of everyday exchange, but a little piece of history in your hand. And when that history collides with rarity and condition, it becomes something much more than money. It becomes a collector's prize, now, the moment you've been waiting for. While most 1971 Lincoln pennies are worth just a cent or a few dollars in average condition, the rarest and most pristine examples, especially those with unique minting errors or top grades, have been known to fetch incredible sums. One such coin reached a value of an astonishing $92,000, yes, $92,000 for a single 1971 Lincoln penny. Imagine that. What most people see as a humble copper coin could actually be a hidden fortune waiting to be discovered. Today we're going to take a closer look at a coin that most people pass by every single day without a second thought, the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1981. At first glance, this little copper coin might not seem like anything extraordinary. After all, billions of pennies were minted in the early 1980s, and they still show up in pockets, drawers, and piggy banks across America. But here's the secret that makes this story worth telling. Some of these 1981 pennies, depending on their mint mark, condition, and unique features, are far from ordinary. In fact, one rare version of this coin has reached an incredible value that would make anyone stop and take notice. So let's dive deep into its history, its design, its fascinating varieties, and the hidden treasure it could hold. The year 1981 was a turning point for the humble penny. It was the last full year that the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln cents using mostly copper before switching to a primarily zinc composition in 1982. This makes the 1981 penny especially significant, because it represents the end of an era. Pennies from this year are made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing in at 3.11 grams, which is heavier than the zinc cents that came afterward. Collectors often place special importance on coins that mark a transition, and the 1981 penny is one of those bridge coins between the old and the new. The design of the 1981 penny continued Victor David Brenner's classic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, which had already been in use since 1909. By this time, the Lincoln Memorial reverse, introduced in 1959, was well established. This reverse shows the grand structure of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., with a hidden detail that many people overlook. If you look very closely at the center of the memorial, you'll notice a tiny representation of the statue of Lincoln sitting inside. This small but remarkable detail makes the design a miniature masterpiece and keeps collectors fascinated by even the most common pennies. Mint marks play an important role in distinguishing these coins. In 1981, pennies were struck in Philadelphia with no mint mark, in Denver with a small d, and in San Francisco with an S mint mark for proof coins. Each of these versions has its own collector following. Proof coins, struck with polished dies to create sharp details and mirror-like surfaces, were made specifically for collectors. The San Francisco Mint actually created two distinct types of proof coins in 1981, Type 1 with a filled S and Type 2 with a clearer, sharper S. The Type 2 proof is scarcer and often worth significantly more than its Type 1 counterpart, making it a sought-after variety for serious collectors, but proof coins are not the only valuable ones. Circulation strikes from both Philadelphia and Denver can also hold great value, particularly if they are in mint state condition. Most pennies from this year were used heavily in everyday transactions, meaning they quickly lost their luster and details through wear and tear. A penny that has remained untouched, with brilliant surfaces and crisp design, stands out dramatically from the rest. Collectors pay top dollar for coins graded at the highest levels, such as MS 67 or MS 68, because such examples are extremely scarce. Another layer of excitement comes from the errors and varieties known among 1981 pennies. Double die obverse varieties, where the date, lettering, or motto appears doubled due to a die misalignment, are especially popular. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other striking errors add unique character to coins and increase their desirability. Because no two mint errors are exactly alike, these coins become one-of-a-kind treasures that collectors chase with passion. Think for a moment about how many 1981 pennies passed through millions of hands in grocery stores, gas stations, diners, and vending machines across the country. Now imagine finding one that was set aside, untouched for over 40 years, retaining the brilliance and sharpness of the day it was struck. Even more exciting, picture discovering a rare error or a proof variety hidden in an old collection or coin roll. That's the thrill of numismatics, knowing that extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places. The 1981 penny also carries significance as a cultural artifact. It's a coin that bridges the old era of solid copper cents and the modern era of zinc-based pennies. When you hold one in your hand, you're holding the weight of American history, both literally and symbolically. It represents the legacy of Lincoln, the artistic contribution of Brenner, and the changes in the U.S. Mint's approach to coinage as costs and materials evolved. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. While most 1981 Lincoln pennies are only worth their face value, and even higher grade examples may sell for just a few dollars, the rarest examples, those that are pristine, uncirculated, or proof coins with scarce varieties, can command staggering sums. One particular 1981 penny, preserved in extraordinary condition and highly sought after by collectors, has been valued at an astonishing $82,000, yes, $82,000 for a single penny. Think about that. Something most people overlook as pocket change could turn out to be a treasure worth more than a luxury car. Today we are setting our sights on a coin that most people have handled without ever giving it a second thought, the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1991. At first glance, it looks like just another ordinary penny, the kind you might toss into a tip jar, drop into a vending machine, or leave forgotten at the bottom of a drawer. But hidden in the world of numismatics is a truth that will make you look at this coin with brand new eyes. Some 1991 Lincoln pennies, depending on their mint mark, grade, and unique varieties, are far from ordinary. In fact, the rarest examples have achieved values that are nothing short of breathtaking. Let's take a long, detailed journey into the history, design, varieties, and secrets of this small but mighty coin. The Lincoln cent has been part of American coinage since 1909, and by 1991, it was already more than 80 years old. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse of the coin features the familiar bust of President Abraham Lincoln, the nation's 16th president and a symbol of freedom and unity. This portrait has become one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage history, standing the test of time through wars, economic changes, and cultural shifts. The reverse side of the coin in 1991 displayed the Lincoln Memorial, which replaced the wheat ears design in 1959. The Lincoln Memorial design is beloved not only for its bold, symmetrical architecture but also for the tiny detail hidden inside. If you look closely at the center of the memorial, you can actually see a small engraving of the statue of Abraham Lincoln. This remarkable attention to detail makes the coin more than just money, it makes it a miniature piece of art. The year 1991 was a transitional period for American coinage. These pennies were struck at 3 mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins struck in Philadelphia carried no mint mark, those from Denver bore a small D, and the San Francisco Mint produced proof coins with an S mint mark. Each of these versions has its own story and place in the collector's market. The circulation strikes from Philadelphia and Denver were minted in the hundreds of millions, used daily across the country. The proof coins from San Francisco, however, were specially made for collectors, struck multiple times with polished dies to ensure mirror-like fields and sharp details. What makes the 1991 penny particularly interesting is that it belongs to the modern era of Lincoln cents, when the composition of the coin had already shifted. After 1982, the U.S. Mint transitioned from primarily copper cents to primarily zinc cents, with just a thin copper plating on the outside. This makes the 1991 penny lighter, at 2.5 grams, compared to the earlier 3.11-gram copper coins. For collectors, this distinction between copper and zinc represents a significant moment in coin history, and it makes coins from the zinc era, like the 1991 penny, part of a larger narrative about the cost of production and the evolving U.S. economy. Of course, not all pennies from 1991 are created equal. The value of these coins in the collector's market depends heavily on condition and grade. Most of the pennies that circulated in the 1990s are worn, scratched, or dull from use. But the rarest examples are those that survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, with full red luster and razor-sharp details. Coins graded at high mint state levels, MS 67 or higher, are extremely scarce because so few were preserved perfectly at the time. The difference between a circulated penny worth a single cent and a flawless mint state example worth thousands of dollars is dramatic, and then there are the varieties and errors. Collectors are always on the hunt for rare mistakes made at the mint, and the 1991 penny has some notable ones. Double die obverse coins, where the lettering or date shows signs of doubling, are especially prized. Off-center strikes, where the design is noticeably shifted away from the center of the coin, also attract strong interest. Other errors such as clipped planchets, die cracks, and repunched mint marks add to the uniqueness and value of a coin. These varieties are what transform an otherwise common coin into something truly extraordinary. Think about the millions of 1991 pennies that passed through hands across America. They were used in schools for lunch money, in corner stores for candy, in parking meters, and in countless small transactions. Yet within this sea of ordinary coins, a few special ones slipped through, waiting decades to be rediscovered by collectors with a keen eye. Imagine the thrill of picking up what looks like an ordinary penny, only to discover that it has a minting error or is in such pristine condition that it could fetch a life-changing sum at auction. That is the magic of coin collecting. It reminds us that history and fortune sometimes come in the smallest packages. The Lincoln penny from 1991 also serves as a cultural time capsule. It connects us to a moment in American history when the country was looking ahead into a new decade filled with change and promise. For collectors, holding a 1991 penny is like holding a piece of that era in your hand. The blend of historical design, modern minting techniques, and the potential for rarity make this coin far more than just pocket change. And now comes the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1991 pennies are only worth a cent in everyday use, and even the nicer ones may sell for just a few dollars, there are examples so rare and so pristine that they have stunned the coin world. One such extraordinary 1991 Lincoln penny, preserved in exceptional condition and highly sought after by collectors, has reached a value of an astonishing $86,000, yes, $86,000 for a single penny from 1991. Think about it, what most people see as everyday change could, in rare cases, be worth more than a brand new car or even a down payment on a house. Today, we're diving deep into the history, design, and value of the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1963. At first glance, this might seem like just another ordinary copper coin, but as we'll soon discover, this humble penny carries with it an exciting past, rare variations, and the potential to be worth far more than just 1 cent. Let's set the stage. The year 1963 was a pivotal time in American history. It was the year before one of the most tragic events in the United States, the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. It was also the height of the civil rights movement, and the country was in the middle of great cultural change. Against this backdrop, millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Philadelphia mint coins bear no mint mark, while the Denver coins feature a small D right under the date on the obverse of the coin. Although the numbers struck were enormous, the real magic comes when you begin looking for details, errors, and conditions that separate common pocket change from the coins collectors dream about. Now, let's talk about design. On the front, we have the iconic bust of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, first introduced in 1909 to celebrate Lincoln's 100th birthday. His portrait has endured for over a century, becoming one of the most recognizable coin designs in the world. Above his head, we see the words, "In God We Trust," with "Liberty" at the left and the year 1963 clearly struck to the right. If you're lucky enough to find one from Denver, you'll also spot that tiny but crucial D mint mark just beneath the date. Turning to the reverse, we find the equally iconic wheat stalk design, officially known as the wheat ears reverse. This classic design was used from 1909 all the way until 1958, before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. So, in 1963, we actually see the Lincoln Memorial reverse still in use. This reverse features the famous monument located in Washington, D.C., and if you look closely under magnification, you can even make out the tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. Around the outer edge are the words, United States of America, and 1 cent, while above sits the motto, E pluribus unum. This is a design that many of us have seen countless times, but to collectors, every small detail matters. What makes the 1963 Lincoln penny special to collectors isn't just its design but its rarity in top condition and the existence of error coins. During the minting process, mistakes sometimes occur, leading to coins with doubled dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, or planchet flaws. For example, a doubled die on the obverse, where letters or numbers appear slightly doubled, is one of the most sought-after varieties in pennies. Collectors will pay incredible sums for well-preserved error coins because they are both rare and unique. Condition is also key. The majority of 1963 pennies circulated heavily, picking up scratches, dings, and wear. But if you find a coin in mint state condition, meaning it looks just as fresh as the day it was struck, you've got something special. Coins graded at higher levels, such as MS 65 or above, can command strong prices from collectors. Proof versions struck in San Francisco also exist, and these were made with extra care for collectors, often featuring sharp details and mirror-like surfaces. Another thing that adds to the allure of this coin is its composition. The 1963 Lincoln penny was struck primarily in bronze, which is an alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This makes it distinct from later pennies, which eventually shifted to a copper-plated zinc composition starting in 1982. The high copper content gives these coins a beautiful reddish-brown luster, especially when they are preserved in pristine condition. Collectors love the rich tones and will pay more for coins that retain their original color without turning dull or brown. So, why are collectors still hunting for the 1963 penny with mint marks today? It's simple: rarity plus demand equals value. Collectors are always on the lookout for high-grade examples or coins with striking errors. These are not just historical artifacts, they're investments. A coin that was once worth a single cent can become the centerpiece of a collection and, in some cases, sell for life-changing amounts at auction. And now, here comes the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1963 Lincoln pennies might only be worth a few cents in average circulated condition, there are exceptional examples that break the mold. A rare, high-grade 1963 Lincoln penny with a mint mark, especially one featuring a dramatic error or preserved in flawless condition, has been known to sell for as much as $89,000. Yes, you heard that right, $89,000 for a coin that started its life as a simple 1-cent piece. Imagine checking your old coin jars, family collections, or inherited boxes and finding a penny that could change your financial future. That's the magic of coin collecting. Hidden treasures are out there, waiting to be discovered. So, the next time you come across a 1963 penny, don't just dismiss it as ordinary pocket change. Take a closer look, check the mint mark, examine the details, and you might just be holding a piece of history worth a fortune. If you enjoyed this journey into the story and value of the 1963 Lincoln penny, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap that notification bell so you never miss an update on rare and valuable coins. Until next time, keep searching, keep collecting, and who knows, you might be the next person to uncover a penny worth tens of thousands of dollars.